We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
You got the legs.
I got the legs. We'll start with the adoption of the agenda. It is recommended that the agenda of the April 4th, 2024 public hearing of the Board of School Trustees be approved as presented.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? The next item on the agenda, first preliminary determination hearing. The item on the agenda is for the board to hold a preliminary hearing on the proposed construction project. If you are interested in speaking at the hearing, please make sure that you have signed the sign-in sheet, which should include your name and address. After a presentation by the administration and its advisors, there will be an opportunity for the public to make comments about the project. At the hearing, we will ask that each person limit their comments to 3 minutes and that the topic be limited to the proposed project under construction. The notice of this preliminary determination hearing was published as legally required. At this time, I will ask that Stu Williver, the school's counsel, explain the purpose of this hearing.
Good evening. Pursuant to Indiana law, school corporation has to hold 2 public hearings and adopt a resolution to preliminarily determine whether they're going to issue bonds or enter into a lease for a project which has a total project cost in excess of statutory thresholds. These public hearings and the consideration of resolutions are the very beginning of the process. You got a lot of hurdles you're still going to have to go through, and we note that there's no board action is legally required at this hearing. So this is solely for public comment on the project this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Stu. We will now hear from Superintendent about the process of determining and communicating the project to the community and the need for the project.
In 2021, when I first assumed the role of superintendent of Southeast Fountain School Corporation, the board indicated that the district was nearing completion of their lease bond and tasked me with determining what project priorities lie ahead for the district. The first step involved having a facility study completed in July 2021. The study, completed by Performance Services, revealed multiple concerns for the district and suggestions for facility enhancements. The study was shared in a public meeting in the fall of 2021. It was determined that replacement of the HVAC and boilers at both school buildings was a high priority because systems in both buildings had outlived their life expectancy. The district has experienced continuous malfunctions in each building system, costly repairs, and oftentimes the discovery that replacement parts have in many cases been discontinued due to the age of our existing HVAC systems. A second priority is an addition to the current administration building. The current building does not have enough space to accommodate the central office staff, which has resulted in having to temporarily repurpose the boardroom into office space. This has resulted in board meetings being moved here to the elementary building until work can be completed. Additionally, the administration building does not have adequate storage space for all of the documents which must legally be retained. So this too will be rectified through this bond. Remaining funds will be used for potential maintenance and repairs to the school buildings. A strategic plan was developed throughout the 23-24 school year, which received input from students, parents, staff, administrators, school board members, and community members. Each of the projects to be addressed through this lease bond are directly aligned with the goals set forth in our strategic plan. This information has been communicated at public school board meetings, and the strategic plan is available on our website. Additionally, I operated a booth at the 2023 Fountain County Fair to share the strategic plan and to answer questions from stakeholders. This once-in-a-generation project will not only address many facility needs, but will also lower the tax rate due to the repayment structure to be shared this evening by Mr. Magus. It will also provide the district with flexibility in the future so that many building issues can be addressed before they escalate.
Thank you, Dr. Grimes. We will now hear from underwriter Damian Magos about how the proposed project will be financed, as well as information about the effect on the typical property taxpayer.
Thank you. I have a handout here of the presentation, the first one. And planning for an audience, but I'm going to go through the proposed structure for the budget, the financing of the project, and just kind of keeping in mind that we're going to, per statute requirements, we're going to set a maximum borrowing amount. We're also going to set a maximum payment and a maximum term for the bond issue. I think about this process very much like the way you go about budgeting. You create a maximum budget. You can always come down, but you won't be able to go over that. And so with each step, I'll kind of explain how we got to those numbers. If the board in the next meeting decides to pursue and adopt the resolution, it will be with these maximum parameters. So we're looking at the projects down here, the construction funds, there was work, and these are estimated projects, and probably, again, being conservative, a little bit higher than anticipated.
Correct.
So all the work at the high school, about 7.1 million. All of the work at the elementary school, 4.6. We're looking at an admin, I think building or addition or whatnot of about 500,000. And then more recently, there was an estimate for the pool of about $2.1 million. So total these, that's the $14.3 million number. And that's an all-in. Typically you have a construction hard costs and soft costs, but that's a GMP guaranteed maximum price. And so all of that is included in that number. To that, we're going to add about $442,000 of capitalized interest, and then cost of issuance of $283,000. And that's a high number. It won't be any more than that, and could very well be lower. But again, we're kind of estimating at this point the cost of issuance, everything that's associated with putting together a bond issue, and typically the attorney fees, bond counsel fee, financing, the trustee bank, rating agency, disclosure documentation. If there is there may be an appraisal process, and so we've got money budgeted for that. And as we move along and the project becomes a little more defined, and we may be able to reduce that number, and we could very easily lower the borrowing or sometimes we create a line item called additional funds for ad alternates, and maybe to do additional type of work. So that's that totals to $15,025,000, and we would we're looking at a bond issue of $15,025,000. So the maximum bond issue is going to be $15,025,000. Okay, that's the borrowing. The 442,000 I want to talk about here. I like pictures. This is the existing debt. We did a GO issue last year to keep the rate at about 35 cents or so, but we've got, it's up to just shy of 40. In the budgeting process, the DLGF, so we had set a maximum payment, and the DLGF approved the maximum payment, and it should not have been the maximum payment. So with this bond issue, if we don't, the rate's going to drop. What we're looking at doing is a smaller payment and then level payments for a few years, and then creating kind of a trough. This will allow, and this is, we talked about this as we're looking at the GO. So this project will take care of the needs at the elementary and high school admin pool, and then allow in another 3-4 years down the road the ability to do something else. If not, you could do general obligation bond borrowings to, if you want to keep the rate up or have the rate lower. So this crosshatch number there, that's the $442,000. That's the interest payment, and that's capitalized interest. So in Indiana, the way that the budgeting works, especially if you have entities that issue debt that are paid by property tax. So we pay our taxes in November, or in May and November, and the school gets its money, not only the school, but all entities get their money in June and December. And then they make their payments, and typically Indiana bonds pay July and January. Okay? So if we sell bonds, so we're looking at selling a bond issue sometime in August or September, right after we get the new assessed value. You've had very good in your AV over the last few years, and it looks like it should probably continue, largely because the way that the base rate for ag, there's a lot of predominantly ag, and the base rate has increased over and will continue to increase over the next few years. So do not be surprised if you see increases in your certified net value. So we're going to wait until we get that number, and then we'll know for sure what that payment has to be. Okay? But if we sell bonds this year, the first payment, we will have missed the July payment, but the first payment would be in January of 2025. And believe it or not, bondholders want to get paid. So in order to make that payment, you would have had to budgeted last year to collect this year, collect in December to make a January payment. Well, there was no bond issue, there was no project, there was nothing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, this is the an interest portion, this is the July of 25. This is the January of 25. I'm going to take that payment, $442,000, put it with a trustee, and the trustee is going to pay the bondholders with that payment. So that's what capitalized interest. Invariably, depending on kind of debt structure and whatnot, there's almost some capitalized interest just because of the way the budgeting occurs. You can't get away from that, that payment. So with this structure, what that does is, we should have been, is going to bring the rate back down to about 30, it's under 35 cents, around 33, 34 cents. We're going to keep it level for 3-4 years and then create a trough. And then when you put the whole picture together, it's going to take your rate back down to overall rate around 80, just a little over 80 cents. And then lots of room out here. Is it for future board administration, public to, it'll just give you a lot more options if you want that. Any questions?
So can I ask a question?
I'm sorry, yes.
We can ask questions.
Oh, yeah.
So on that slide there, so our rate for 24 is 0.9812.
Yes.
And so are you, and I'm new, I
Okay,
just came
no.
on in January, so I have questions. But so does that mean you said that the bond didn't get set up right? Something didn't get done to start, so it will come
The maximum
down?
payment was levied or approved by the DLGF.
Okay,
We had set a maximum.
Mhm.
It should not have been, it should have been a smaller payment.
okay, and so that is why we're saying
You had
that
that, yeah,
time?
and we're gonna bring it right back down to where it should be.
Okay.
And I talked with Tom, so and we're gonna make sure, get another set of eyes on it again to make sure that we're looking at 34, 35.
Jill, you good?
Yeah,
Anything else?
it just, yeah, trying to understand how it went up that much in a year, but it sounds like it's because they took the maximum for the year, so it is. And that's also, I assume, why we're over 40 on the,
I'm sorry?
that's also why on the other slide, we're up over, where we wanted to be under,
Yeah, we wanted to,
stay under 40.
Yeah, sorry to, I think what she's asking is why it went up, because you didn't budget to sell bonds this year in
No,
the
we-
previous, is that correct? I mean,
we did a GO issue last year and had set a maximum payment amount. And that's what was put in the budget. It
Okay.
should not have been the max, it should have been a smaller number. So we're going to correct it with this and get it back down to what we had talked about at around a 34, 35 cent. No more than 35 cents.
Anything else?
That's it for the moment. Thank you.
Thanks, Damien. I still have to go through this stuff.
You can read it and we'll see if there's any back there.
Okay. We will now open the public hearing. Remember, if you would like to speak, please sign in on the sheet, which is located on the back table. As I mentioned earlier, we ask that you state your name and address, limit your comments to the proposed project and financing, keep any comments to 3 minutes, and avoid being repetitive if possible. May I have the sign-in sheet now, and I will begin calling the names of those who are interested in speaking.
This is the guest sign in. The speaker is empty.
Okay.
There are
So
no-
there are no signatures, nobody signed in, so it doesn't look like we have any speakers. Thank you to all who participated in the hearing. We appreciate your time and interest in the project and the future of our community. Please note that this is just the first step in the legal process. No board action is legally required at this hearing. Rather, this hearing is solely to hear public comment. The board will continue to work with the administration and its professionals to look for efficiencies to conserve tax dollars while meeting our educational needs. The board will hold a second public hearing in this boardroom on April 11th, 2024 at 6:30 PM. Adjournment. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Scott got it? Second was
Kim.
Kim. Vote.